what, carry on forward? We're going to call the meeting to order.
All right.
You got the sign sheet?
Yeah, I've already passed it out.
Have a motion to approve the minute.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we got your old business? I know you got new business. Go ahead, man.
Go ahead on new business. Just wanted to let y'all be aware, Jody Sigler called, and they are revising the 3-star program, and they have set up a 3-star stakeholder advisory committee to look at the current program and see what we can do to make it better.
Sir.
Pardon?
And,
I've got it on a computer. You don't have to spend all that money.
Do you want me to stay?
All that money.
Too much
I've been
paperwork.
testing on that tomorrow.
Never mind, I'll tell you later what I told her.
You have to read it aloud.
Oh, gosh.
Let me get my stuff, I'll be right back.
Okay, so the group is made up of two 3-star administrators from each of the 9 Tennessee Economic Development region. And the 2 representatives for Northeast Tennessee is Abby Fry from Carter County and myself from Hawkins County. So what they're gonna be looking at is the top, they're looking, if you wanna add something to it, you're welcome to do. So the top 3 strengths of the 3-star program, and what are the pain points, which is the paperwork, I can tell you that right now. And any other ideas to improve this 3-star program. Now, I can tell you, I've been doing the 3-star program since 1997 with Ronnie Price. And we used to do books, they were the 5-inch, 3-ring notebooks, and you had to have 5 of those to pass the 3-star. So we've come a long ways in condensing it down, but we're still, all these portals that they've got, most of the time we're having issues with them working and lots of other issues. But I put in here just an overview. This is what she gave us of what the 3-star is actually for and what it's about. I'm not going to go over all that, but anyway, that kind of gives you an idea what the mission and the vision is. And of course, the biggest thing for us as being a 3-star community is we get a percentage off our grants and get points added to the grant when they're being considered. There's also a CDBG match savings and bonus detail in this sheet right here if you want to look it in, and that's over the past from 2011 to 2021. Now, we did have one CDBG grant in 2022 that's not on here. They didn't have those, they just went up to 2021. But there's the amount of money that we have been able to get through being a 3-star community. And of course, you know, as you see at the top, if you're not a 3-star community, you're not eligible for any of these things. So, you know, it really affects anywhere from economic development to retail to entrepreneurship, education, site development, marketing. You just about name it. It touches on just about everything. And of course, the fast track grants, which you use with the industry. So, you know, whether we want to be a part of it or not, we are a part of it. It has been very beneficial for us, and hopefully will continue to be in the future if we can just get it to the point. They're trying to decide if they're going to continue doing the smaller grants or if they're going to go with larger grants. There's some pros and cons to that. We don't, as rural communities, we don't have as much resource sometimes to apply for those larger grants, therefore we get kind of knocked out of it. We have used several of the grants. Rebecca and I put together the substation up at Phipps Bend, which has been beneficial up there. I was trying to think, I can't off the top of my head, we've used several of them for economic improvements for small things that we didn't want to
We
waste.
did the security system up there.
Yeah, the security system, the cameras up at Phipps Bend was part of that also. We did a couple things with Rogersville City, with some security things with them. We did some infrastructure improvements in downtown Rogersville with one of the grants. Because we're a three-star community, we were eligible for the downtown development grant that the Main Street puts out. We received $100,000 3 years ago, and then we just received another $150,000 grant to do improvements into the downtown because it is a Main Street program. So there's lots of advantages to it. We've in the healthcare area, we've had a lot of grants through that area. To help in the education part of that. So it's definitely a benefit for us, and you know, we are basically required to be a part of it. And so we'll see what happens. We met Zoom meeting and just did an organizational meeting, and we're gonna probably have another meeting, I think she said, in 2 months. So that's kind of where we're at on that, and, you know, where it's gonna go, I'm not sure. They've got a lot of ideas of how they want to improve it, but right now, it's all in the, planning stages. So,
Whatever happened to the wireless project downtown, did
that was an ARP grant, or not an ARP, ARC grant, and, we, turn that microphone off. We did not get cooperation with some of the players that needed to be a part of the game, and so we could not get that completed. We are working right now with Premier Communications to possibly get that going again. They're willing to work with us even though we did not get to keep the grant. Because we had 3 years, we went with 3 different companies, and none of them could actually do what we were required to do, so as of right now, but we are still trying to get that, downtown. If we do, we're looking at, planning on doing a farmer's market up at Swift Park, and it would be essential to have the, internet up there, and that would have been part of it. It would have been at Swift Park. And so, and then when we do the events downtown, a lot of people use the, what's that little square? The square, the little white square. And so it's where you can run your credit cards with them. So that was one of the biggest reasons. And then, as more people go online with restaurants and things like that, they could go on and look at the menu before they ever decide where to go, or find out what the store hours are and things like that. So it's definitely beneficial for tourism. So we are still, we haven't given up, let's do it that way.
I know you work hard at that. Rebecca, you need one?
No, I'll let Larry.
I'm glad we get part of it.
Well, I'll pick it up
First thing we mentioned, I think at our last board meeting, is we applied for, Rebecca did, and got a TVA grant to help secure the, nuclear site at Phipps Bend, the reactor vessel building and all that stuff. And she's in the process of getting, quotes down for a new door, camera systems, and a few other things that we can purchase with that small grant. It's very good for us, but it wasn't, I think we asked for 100,000, but we got 10, so, we're gonna make do with it. And I think it'll be very effective. We've already bought some signs and things to put up, and to my knowledge, we're not having any guests to speak of right now, other like we were for a while.
We all made Facebook last week, so I said, y'all made Facebook big time last week, so it's almost a big.
Somebody been in there or?
No, somebody just asking about it and then
Oh my gosh,
they proceeded to talk about it, so.
well, it'll be back.
It's back on the radar.
It'll be back for sure.
Yeah, I think, somebody, I read through one, I don't know, a few days ago on Facebook where somebody had a litany of things this long, and about half of it was wrong. Said the reactor vessel had disappeared. Well, it didn't disappear, we sold it, and they cut it up, stainless steel out of it, and we got $25,000 for, even though it was millions of dollars, it was, when we purchased the land from TVA, we got the reactor buildings, we got all the warehouses, we got the vessel itself, and then they were talking about the second one that was disappeared before it ever got here, I don't know where these people come up with these wild-haired things, but, they don't think to ask somebody that would know, that's been involved with it since day one, but be that as it may. I can't get ahead of the governor. We entertained 2 clients last week. It looked very favorable, but I will not step out in front of the governor and make an announcement. But we met with them 2 or 3 days last week.
Also entertained a third client, was like the week before that, Larry was out of town, so.
Yeah, it's been real active, right now. What else?
That's,
I'm slept since then, I don't want to say something to get me in trouble.
I know.
Smile for the camera.
Yeah.
We're about 83 to 85% with, complete on the due diligence for that large lot.
Yes.
So,
Is that right? Is everything?
yes, lot 17.
And we've been working with the Board of Education, as you know, and I think Brandon can tell you that, that our board is 100% in favor of, I won't say give it to them, but that requires Kingsport and TVAs to give them the property, but the almost 10-acre site there, I think it would be very attractive for that facility, and it would be very beneficial is the way our board looks at it. Some other things have come up involving the school that I can't get ahead of the governor on either, so
Yeah.
just stay tuned and listen for the news
Right.
announcements as they come out. That's all I can say on that. I don't know anything else going on. We're struggling, trying to get people together. This spring break, it's hard to get people that have a lot on the agenda together, but we're trying to get some meetings set up. It's very difficult to do right now. But Networks have been working with us very closely on 2 or 3 projects, and we're thankful for them, in our association with that group.
You meet tomorrow.
Networks meets tomorrow. You want me to send Rebecca up to make sure somebody has ready? Yeah.
You wanna come?
Yeah. No, it's, like I say, it's been a real good association. As with Kingsport, it's been a good association for 25 years. We just can't beat it. But everything's going real well right now. We're very pleased with the way everything, I came down and met with the road committee, I guess, and they advised me to try to get, we're trying to get the road paved in Phippsbend. We did the road analysis, paid for that through Matter and Craig. Then Kingsport was kind enough to send their
Traffic
folks
count.
down to do the traffic count and all that. We did all that. I think it's like 18,000 vehicles in one 7-day period. I don't think people realize, I guarantee that's the heaviest travel road that the county owns. And we've asked, it's a little, I think it's just around a mile from the whole 11W end to the end that we're asking to be paid. And so they asked me then to take it to the ad hoc committee. And before I could get set up with them, they disbanded the ad hoc committee. And so I don't know where to go from here. I've met with the budget committee, the ad hoc committee, and the road committee. And it's kind of like, chasing your tail, but it certainly needs to be paid. If you don't do it now, it's one of those deals like, you pay me now, pay me later. You're gonna have to pay it. It's a county road. We have absolutely looked at every avenue, every grant that we can try to get, but since it is a county road, all of them come back and say, well, it's a county road, they get taxes, they need to pay their own roads. You just can't get grant money for stuff like that. So that's where we're at. I don't know if it's in the budget this year, who knows what.
We have presented that plan to the road committee and the budget committee that the engineering did.
Yes,
I'm not on the road committee, not the budget committee.
I presented it to both and the ad hoc committee.
I'm not on it anymore, it's disbanded.
And so, the other road that really needs paving, but I was asked the question, which one, if you had your druthers, which would you do first? I said, well, the one at Phipps Bend is in worse shape, needs it worse. The Cardinal Way, they're spending millions and millions of dollars and hiring new people and everything at Cardinal since they bought the side glass out. And the state is redoing a bridge up there, and we're working with them to put in, the capacity for sewer and water to run out to the plant. And we were able to get, water run down to that plant to the first, development district, first utility district up there. And so we've been meeting with them fairly regular, and we think that when they build the bridge now, that the capacity will be there to put in the larger water and sewer line. And then would be a good time to pave that road. So it's been a long time on both roads, so.
What was the estimate on the Phipps Bend Road?
On Phipps Bend, they said $1.2 million. And we got support from, the road superintendent, and he felt like that, he might be able to, curb that a little bit, that cost somewhat, but it originally came in around $1 million, and then for whatever reason, and with the price of asphalt and everything, it was up to $1.2 million last time we checked, so. With the price of gas, asphalt's right there with it, so it'll cost more to do it right now than it did a year ago, which, we're trying to get paid a year ago, so.
It looked like a football field and improved it.
Yeah. So it's gonna be something, like I say, 18,000
It was over
vehicles a
18,000.
week. That's a lot of traffic, and many of those were 18-wheelers. And, we're still trying to get that, truck school, so stay tuned.
Then you're gonna have more traffic.
Well, these new industries possibly coming along.
Have even more traffic.
Well, I don't know if you signed it, I'm assuming you did. County Commission approved a resolution to match the $2 million that the Board of Education has committed to our project. So that puts us at 4. Gary Hicks and John Lundberg have requested an additional 5 from the state, just a direct budget appropriation. So it'll be a few weeks before we know the outcome of that. If that's successful, that puts us at about 60 to 70% of meeting what we anticipate needing. So at this point, we are kind of shifting focus to how we're going to make up that additional 4 to 6 million. And as Larry would say, stay tuned, I guess. We want to solicit investment from area business and industry directly. And I think we've had some preliminary conversations with a handful of larger industries or larger employers. And there is some appetite for that. The thing is, it's kind of uncharted waters as far as we are concerned, for sure. We've never done that kind of request, not to my knowledge. Never gone to a company and asked for that type of an investment, not to that level anyway. And so we're sort of, I don't want to say building it as we go, but we're just in a gray area as far as, what would be an appropriate request. We don't know if we ask for $1 million investment, are we going to get laughed out of the room, or is that going to be something that people can do? Or if we ask for that and we're to receive it, what are they going to expect in return for it, kind of thing. So we're kind of filling that out and having some preliminary conversations with some of the larger employers in the area, both in and around Hawkins County. So that's about as much details I can give on that, I guess.
With the monies that you have now, if you could apply for grants, would they be able to be used for a match?
Yes, well, in most cases, yes. I don't want to say blanket, yes, but in most cases, it would be appropriate to claim that as a local match. And that was really part and parcel why we were asking for that funding from the Board of Ed and the County Commission. Both was it'll really bolster the chances of securing either federal or state grant funds if we show that local match. And that's a sizable local match too.
Are we gonna be able to get any federal grant money?
Up in the air, I saw a press release last week that there's still some discussion about potential funds through the infrastructure legislation. But, like anything else, there's, just like the ad hoc committee was dealing with, waiting on what the final ruling is to how these funds can be expended. With that in particular, we don't know if it's gonna be there at all, and then if it is gonna be there, not really sure how regulated it will be in terms of, is this gonna be for new capital projects or only for renovation? We just don't know. Same thing, there's 500 million unless it's been cut, and if it has, I'm not aware of it. There's 500 million in the governor's proposed budget for earmarked for CTE over the next 4 years. If that is approved, as of today, we don't know what the regulations will be on that. We don't know. We did get some preliminary information as to what kind of allocation we can expect. And the information we were given suggested that we could expect about $1 million allocation per high school and a smaller allocation per middle school to be split over 4 years. So if we just look at only our high schools, we'd be looking at $3 million over 4 years. But we have no idea what the guidance would be. If we had to adhere to uniform guidance that we typically do with federal funds, capital projects would be out. These aren't federal funds though, so,
Lobsters and guidelines too.
yeah, so we're just not sure. And when the governor's budget is voted on finally, if that's still in there, we were told to expect an application to be released with a very short window for the initial submission. So it's a good time to be in CTE. There's funding there, but it's a stressful time too, because we're going to get a pot of money that right now we don't know how we can even spend it. So we're working on, we're trying to make plans, but at the same time, it's one of those situations where we kind of have to make lots of plans in case plan A is not allowable. We move to plan B and pick up where we can.
To start.
Yeah.
I don't really have anything. Just got an email from Motorola on their radios. They put the date off till August on the portables and mobiles. We're almost complete on the sites, all 3 sites. Matter of fact, Jamie's up on Town Knob now. They finished up with Short Mountain this morning, so that's moving right along. But it's just like anything else, hard to get equipment. You can buy a refrigerator.
China, I guess.
Yes, Malaysia.
Supply chain stuff's real.
It is, it's hit us hard, but we're not giving up. Everybody's asking me about this $480,000 CDBG grant that I obtained or tried to get for the fire departments and emergency personnel. We only had 6 agencies respond back, so that grant went on to some other county, so we didn't have enough participation, so we lost $480,000 there. That's really all I've got. Sarah, you wanna talk about the park?
We have, our park master plan, everybody has a copy of that on their desk. Rebecca, I have an extra one here if you want that. We received a grant, we partnered with the city of Rogersville and the city of Churchill, and, all 3 of us participated in a master plan. This allows us to apply for state and federal grants. If you have this 10-year plan, without it, there's a lot of grants that we can't apply for. We're asking our commissioners to adopt the 10-year plan in our next commission meeting. There's a lot of pretty pictures of our parks in here, as well as our list of things we need and things we want.
Is this a plan for all the people that participate in the city and county?
Everybody got in here.
Yeah, we updated ours in Kingsport about 1.5 years ago. It's a good process.
Who did your plan for you?
Well, of course, our Parks and Rec department, but they did have a contractor that helped them, and I cannot remember their name right now. But if that helps, I could get that name for you.
We've already got one, it's Evan Sanders.
I can't remember off the top of my head. You want me to go ahead with my report? Okay. First I want to talk to y'all about this proposed drug rehab facility for the region. So first I have to ask questions of Mayor Sells and Mayor Lee. Did y'all participate in the lawsuit with that big pharmaceutical company that resulted in the settlement? Were y'all
Yes.
participating? Okay.
This was Dan Armstrong, right?
Whether you had or not, what I'm getting ready to tell would still pertain to you. I went to Nashville last week with Mayor Grandy went, Mayor Venable, Mayor Carter, Mayor Woodby, from Carter County, 3 judges, other players. And we all met with Butch Ely. He's the deputy governor, he's the chief finance officer at the state. And we talked to him about this facility that's in Roan Mountain. The day I went to visit the facility, it was exactly 50 miles from Kingsport City Hall to this facility in Carter County. It was a prison up to about a year ago, but then they got rid of all the prisoners, and it's in remarkably good shape. It could house up to 200 men, no women, but it could house 200 men. It's not in like cell blocks, it's in dorms. And so anyway, the idea that the judges came up with, a bunch of the judges in the first, second, and third judicial districts, was if we could get the state to turn that over to us, and we pooled our money, the settlement money altogether is something like a little over $20 million. Kingsport's share was 1.1 million. My board has said, yes, we will devote our share toward whatever we come up with for this facility. So I've toured the facility, it's in pretty good shape. It has its own wastewater treatment plant, by the way, and that was the only question. When we got down to Nashville, we were in front of Mr. Ely and people from the corrections department and the finance department and I don't know, whatever, various state departments. The main legislator that had the most interest in this was Tim Hicks, who represents part of Washington County. He's a recovering drug addict himself. 20 or so years ago, he was actually addicted, and so he has a real emotional investment in this. But the other state legislators in our area are all aware of this and all seem to be highly supportive. The main thing that came out of it was Mr. Ely said, yeah, we'll lease this thing to you for $1 a year. Now, what needs to happen is we need to get organized up here in our region. We're not really organized. I mean, the judges say they have to go around and they need to talk to everybody again and get formal commitment of this money. They put in front of us at this meeting in Nashville a document about this thick, but it had cost estimates, and they estimated the first year to open this thing would run 2.8 million and a little change. In the second year and subsequent years was 1.8 million. Well, why the $1 billion difference? Well, they thought that they needed to program some money for any kind of capital repairs one time, that kind of thing. Again, with the wastewater treatment plant not sort of being, we're not sure how well that's going to work. But other than that, this is a beautiful facility. So, what that means is of all the money, the 20 million, they believe that it would last 4 to 5 years. And my question, of course, is, okay, what happens after that? And all the judges, the other mayors, they were all totally confident that if we got this thing running for 4 to 5 years, nobody's going to let it just stop. That there would be grants available, the state would come on board. But the state really couldn't commit to anything other than, yes, we'll lease it to you for $1 a year, because we in the region we had to organize ourselves into some kind of entity that could, sign the agreement, so to speak. Now, I'm giving you an opinion now. My personal opinion is that this could be something handled by First Tennessee Development District, but that remains to be seen. Somehow, I would say within those auspices, we need to come together as a region and decide who's going to run this thing. Now, there was a rep from Families Free out of Johnson City. And this is a nonprofit organization who does rehabilitation type stuff, all kinds of medical stuff. Maybe they would become the prime contractor, and then they would contract out for other services like grounds maintenance or fixing the plumbing or whatever, But so I think the ball was kind of back in our court, not the state. The state, they went as far as they could go, They don't have somebody to actually do the deal with, but I think it's good news that they don't plan to sell the facility or do something else with the facility, that it would be available for us. Oh, and finally, the judges would be the ones who would decide, you're going to this facility, and it would be for 12 or more months. And actually the TCAT could provide classes to them, and this would be enough time for somebody to not only get off drugs, but to turn their life around. That's why I'm kind of excited about it. By the way, the money is unrestricted. I mean, I can take the 1 million and put it against pothole repair, but we're not going to do that in Kingsport. So I'm open to questions on that, or I can move on.
Was you at the first visit we made up there to the prison site?
I was at, I don't know how many
This
has been
place
made,
is
but
I couldn't see anything there that needs to be redone.
I thought it was in great shape.
I mean, even the paint, just everything looks new.
I thought it was fabulous.
Um,
And they told me that they would put like 180 inmates who were, addicts in there with another 20 who were strictly mental health issues. And then somehow segregate them a little bit, but they had a nice dining facility, they had a library, they had places where you could work out. There's room on the grounds where you could actually expand if you absolutely needed to. I think it's a great facility. And
It's a great idea, too.
I think it's a good idea, and the judges are pretty smart. I think they're the right guys to decide who goes there, because it's like Judge Street said, he says there's some people who are just plain mean, and they need to stay in jail or prison. But there's some that we think that if you put them in a program like this, you could save them.
This program isolates them from the public, too. They're not
Yeah.
allowed to be around their
Yeah.
family, friends,
Right.
nothing. Just, they're gone for 12 to 18 months.
That's a great point, because the judges that run drug court, their clients come in and report every so often, but they could give them a great report and then that weekend go hang out with their old good time buddies and be back on drugs again. So the beauty of isolating these people till they get not only physically off the drug, but get their mind straight is a great thing, I think.
So are the fines and stuff, could they go toward the,
Toward maintaining the
Yes,
facility? That's a
yes.
good question. I don't think anybody's asked that, Nancy. I'll bring that up. See these guys again, the judges.
because, there's gotta be some kind of sustainability to it.
Again, since I don't deal with this every day, I was a little surprised, but everybody I talked to in that room was very confident that if we got this thing going for 4 or 5 years with the money we have, is that the money to keep it going would be forthcoming. So, I don't know.
You just gotta get it off the ground.
Yeah. Okay, so speaking of First Tennessee Development District, we meet a week from tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, we meet. And I suspect that Mayor Grandy, who's the chair now, that will talk about the interview that we did with candidates to replace the previous director.
Yes.
And I was on that board. The people that did the interviews were Grandy, Shull, Patty Woodby again, Venable, and Mayor Luttrell from Bristol. And Grandy's handling talking to the person we picked and talking about salary and all that, so I presume he'll report out a week from tomorrow.
Yeah, I talked to him last night. He is going to.
Okay. Last time we met, I talked about Holston Army Ammunition Plant and how the contract's being bid. But what I'm really impressed with is the fact that BAE, who's already running it, of course, they're in town, and the other two guys have set up offices in Kingsport. General Dynamics is on Main Street, and right around the corner from them is Day and Zimmerman on Broad Street, and they're serious on this contract. And I think you bring in these heavy hitters from the outside, and I think it's only to our benefit to expose more people to our area. So I'm looking forward to like General Dynamics, which is one of the leading defense contractors in the world, that they were talking about sponsoring a baseball game, when the Appalachian League starts back up again. So, what on? We in Kingsport are supposed to get our second tranche of this ARPA money, $5.1 million in May. And we've already figured out ways to spend it. We got to make a final decision. And I tell you, $1 million doesn't go as far as it used to with inflation. That's the only thing that bothers me is inflation, but more uncertainty into what we've been trying to do. It's making it tough to figure out our budget. We got to do something about employee pay. We've lost a little ground, and it's become highly competitive, all these labor market. We got 40 vacancies in our city workforce, and that's not counting the 11 police were vacant or short. The school came to us with a list of their capital projects, and from this time last year to this year, it's almost doubled their requirement. They went from 60 million to 115 million. A lot of it had to do with Renovate North, but And I'm not mad at them or anything, I mean, a lot of it has to do with inflation, but, until we get inflation out of the system, it really, is complicating life. That's my report.
Speaking of vacancies in the city of Kingsport, I had a meeting a couple weeks ago with your HR department,
Yeah.
and Tyra Copus
Tyra, yeah.
does a good hire on your all's part.
Yes, she's pretty confident.
She'll do a great job, I'm certain. So we are working with her and her team, and I think she's already worked with several other school districts in the area to help you with some student interns that, you know, not gonna solve that problem overall, but it might ease the blow a little bit.
You know what jumped out at me? We start out a brand new policeman at like $17 and a few cents an hour. But Bojangles, they had a big sign up saying $14 an hour with Bojangles. Well, you know, okay, that's $3 less, but nobody's shooting at him. So, in fact, we had a police officer resign a few months ago. He'd been on the force for a few years, and so he wasn't a newbie, and he got a job with Waste Management, driving one of the big trucks, garbage trucks. They asked him, well, why do you want to do this? Well, they're gonna pay me more, their benefits are better, and nobody will shoot at me. So we gotta relook this whole thing, that's what Tyra's doing. And she's been over some of her work with me. Anyway, that's it.
So are you looking at, are you saying that some of this money, the ARPA money to possibly upgrade salaries?
The upgrade what?
Upgrade salaries, is that?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mix apples and oranges. The salary's something apart from that. We're thinking about spending that money, 5.1 million, on some kind of capital project or projects.
Oh, okay.
I'll give you an example. We need to build a new fire station. Station number 2 is just, it was built like 1940. It doesn't fit modern equipment. There's a lot of things screwed up about it. So, in terms of modern, and just to build that would be over $4 million. So, I mean, the more I do this mayor thing, the more I realize it takes a lot of money just to maintain your infrastructure. You know, sewer, water, buildings, you know. Then you get the salaries and all that, and with inflation, life just got real complicated. Oh, I would say one bright thing, of course, is that the move to Kingsport is going great. Our data from January through March shows that if people keep moving in at the rate they moved that first quarter, the newcomers coming to Kingsport, we would exceed what we did in 2021. So, I mean, I met people today, they had a ribbon cutting. This lady and her husband moved here from Missouri, and they brought along her father and mother, you know, who's retired, but hey, you know, they're spending money in Kingsport, so what the heck? So.
Yeah, we're running into that here. I know, I had a lady come in the chamber the other day, and they had bought a farm, and their daughter and their 4 children had took part of the land and built a house, and then they had another son who was moving here and was doing the same thing. So it's
The happiest people I meet in town are the ones that lived here 4 or 5 years. You know, they don't ever complain about roads or anything. It's the old timers that do all that. That's it.
Mayor Phil.
Well, the development district, they meet next year,
A week from tomorrow.
Wait a minute, tomorrow.
No, it's a week from tomorrow.
Good, I've been early.
Yeah, you'd have been on top of it.
Of course, we're getting processed tonight, going over this park thing. We want to get it passed through the park board and also through the city council. And we'll have our part behind us. We're going to let out bids for striping the town. I think we do that about every 2 or 3 years. And basically, we're like you, we're just trying to keep our heads above the water. We just don't, with prices and things,
Yeah,
gas, oil,
yeah,
it's just, we've been waiting 2 years to get a vehicle.
yeah, it's crazy.
It's,
Just buying stuff like for the water system and the sewer system.
oh yes,
It's hard.
it's, but that's about all I got, Mayor.
We got the same problem, we're looking for a vehicle for Virginia, it's over 2 years out, get anything.
All the chemicals we use to go in the water system and the wastewater system, all it went up, all of them, every one of them went up. They brought it before the board this past week, and we had to vote on additional spending to buy more stuff. You can't let this, you can't just, you gotta do it, you know, you got no choice.
Anybody else got anything? What are you doing for the next meeting, July 12th?
Yes. So I went ahead and put that October, meeting on there, that'll be our date, but
Everybody good with 3 o'clock?
3 o'clock works better than 4, 5,
For me it is.
okay.
Or earlier?
If you
Depends on
buy
you
lunch,
guys.
we come at lunch, but this is good.
I've got 3 other meetings, so it doesn't matter, whatever time you make it, as long as you don't make it during one of those.
Yeah, this
I think
three's
we're all
better-
running,
three's
yeah, we're all
better than
running
four.
into, meetings later in the afternoon, so I think this kind of helped everybody out.
Yeah.
I like this time.
So we're gonna stay with the 3
Having
o'clock.
12, Jim's gonna buy lunch.
We used to do that.
They
Never
tight
saw.
now.
Yeah, yes. Real time.
2 or 3?
Let's leave it at 3.
I think 3.
Let's leave it at 3.
Three's good.
3's good.
Sorry, Brandon.
That's all right.
3's good for me too.
We continue here.
I like anything that starts at 4.
Are we,
Yeah.
Is it time for me to make a motion?
are we gonna continue?
Second.
Wait a minute, we gotta,
you, Mayor.
we gotta get, are we gonna continue to do it at the same location, or what?
If y'all wanna come to Kingsport City Hall, I'd be happy. But I'm flexible.
There's more restaurants down there.
So,
So
let's
as-
do something to do with food.
For the July meeting, we just wanna go continue to have it here,
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
What day in July is it?
it's July the 12th,
12 July.
and it'll be at 3 o'clock at TVA, because I wasn't sure what we were gonna do
And the
here.
next one will be October 11th at 3 o'clock.
When does the new mayor take over?
September 1st.
September.
Okay. all right. So that's why I didn't go any further in October, so that way.
Yeah, who is the new mayor?
Good question. Whoever gets 18%.
You can get 15%.
Y'all got a real race going on for mayor, don't you?
Got a motion adjourned?
I had that, yeah.
So,
Second.
You coming to mine?
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be at all 3 of yours. Plus the school board.
Plus the school board.
Yeah.
I don't go to that one.
Yeah, no, you get out of that
You
one.
said
Mayor Shaw,
qualifications.
I was interested in buying
You got
the
somebody in mind,
Holston Army Ammunition Plant contract running out. Do you know what year that runs out?
They're gonna, award it sometime in 2023.
Okay.
Let's say about mid-year.
I can't believe it. You know, I've been here. I can't believe I've been here this long that's running out. You know, because they always said it was a 25-year contract, and I never thought I'd be here long enough to see it run out.
You made it.
Yeah.
But you know, this is actually pretty exciting because 3 major contractors bidding for it. That's good for the Army, it's good for the nation.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you about that. Go ahead, Mayor. I'll let you.
I was just gonna ask, did Eastman run it start with?
Yeah, Eastman had a subsidiary which was called Holston Defense. And then as Eastman started downsizing, you know, Kodak went away and all that, they said this is not part of our core competency, so we're gonna give this contract up. And that's where British Aerospace Engineering came in.
So do you know what the process is for that? Or who makes those decisions and all that stuff?
Well, you know, back in 2005, we lost our uniform commander, you know, he was a lieutenant colonel. And for years, for the next several years, they had a civilian in charge. Now we got back a lieutenant colonel commanding, and he's getting ready to change on August 5th.
Oh, wow.
They do 2-year command tours. So he's got another lieutenant colonel come in and take his place. And so, but the current lieutenant colonel, Scott Carpenter, I think has done a really good job in this process along. And
Listen,
See, you have him, you have about 13 Department of the Army civilians, and then everybody else is a contractor.
A lot of them.
And not only do they have
Some of them can't.
the BAE running the ammunition part of it, but they have a subcontractor there that's been rebuilding rail cars.
Yeah, my nephew used to work for them.
And of course, we're in talks with them about opening up some of their land, the lease, where if we could attract some kind of business there. And I talked to the board, you were here last time this board met?
Yeah, no, I
I
wasn't.
talked to them about that.
Okay. Well, I just thought that was interesting. I can't believe how long I've been here now. I worked at the Times News for 23 years, and I covered Hawkins County. And I knew Tony Hewitt real well and all that.
Yep.
And they always talked about the 25-year contract, and now it's running out. It's like, what?
Yep, you put out a lot of news about Hawkins County.
Yeah. All righty. Well, appreciate that.
Yeah, it's good seeing you.
Yeah, thank you.
If you could just share that.